Social media world, what's going on? Hey, so hope everyone is doing well. You know, always. So I'm trying to how how can someone talk about the real estate market is booming right now? And the reason why I say this is because a couple videos back, a couple videos, no, like a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week, I don't quite remember. I made a video about how some this real estate guy was trying to sell a product to his viewers, and he was successful at selling his product. My issue is not him, you know, as a salesperson. My issue is not him, what he does as a business, right? I'm not criticizing his business. What I'm criticizing is, because I am being critical now, is how he reported that now's the greatest time, right, to acquire real estate. That may very well be true for real estate moguls, I guess, billionaires, corporations that are into development, especially when you're talking about commercial real estate, right? I'm not sure if I agree with the fact that now it's a great time to buy real estate for the retail investor or the average person, common person. I can't agree with that, because his presentation was appealing to the audience of just regular folks like you and I, not heads of real estate development corporations and companies and, billionaires and wealthy, affluent people. No, no. Because when he shared his story at a level where, he obtained, credit, a modest amount, I think it was under 200K, and was able to buy properties to rehab and sell them. Essentially buy and flip, or even buy, hold to rent. For a retail or average regular person, working person, that's undergoing, this extreme hardship right now with this global crisis that's taking place, right? How are you going to have money to pay to pay for the mortgage if you're not working? Pay for the rent if you're not working. You're going to, depend on rental income. Well, how's that going to go if you're working, if your tenant, or it just doesn't add up to me. How can you secure a tenant in a place that's been ravaged by a pandemic? Sure, the property values are going to go down naturally. But to prey on people at this time, at this vulnerable time, I think is disgusting, like President Trump would say, disgusting. I mean, it's to me, it's just it just goes to show you how people, even through times of deprivation, that folks are always going to be out here trying to hustle and make a dollar and come up and profit off the backs of misery, off of, out of tragedy. Always going to try to make a profit. Okay? I think what's also a disservice, okay, people don't care, like, certain people, and I'm talking about from a regular perspective, average Joe Schmo, people who I encounter, they don't know what the Federal Reserve Bank is. And when I try to share to them what the Federal Reserve Bank, not even like what it is and what it does, I guess it just doesn't click with people. You know, they don't, and not even that, not even so much as even that. Sometimes I'll just go by saying, well, you know, this is what the Federal Reserve Bank is doing as of right now. Since this crisis has taken place, this is what they've augmented by way of printing money and giving monies to corporations and banks to save them out of complete destruction. First, and none of those monies are hitting our digital pockets when we need it, right, which is right now, right away. They'll look at me and say, oh well, shrug their shoulders, throw their hands up in the air. And it's hard because this is why you have a certain group of people who would call those people who don't care and they'll call them sheep, because they're just taking it and they're just doing the will of whatever the oppressive entity is dictating. There comes a time where it's more than just about talking now. It's more than just about words. It's more just about dialogue. Because when we're hungry, our bodies are in need. You know, someone once told me a very long time ago, a hungry man is an angry man, right? Because you can't think straight. All you can think about is eating. And then it becomes very, very uncomfortable real quick. And you're going to do what it is necessary for you to eat, because you're at that point where you can't take it anymore. Right now, there are so many people who are still, I guess it's a slow process. They're still not really aware, really aware as to what's going on and what's taking place and what's to come. You know, folks have a hard time seeing things past their nose. And it shows, especially because when I'm looking through YouTube and I'm watching, or, you know, other social media platforms, and people just want to know if DMX is going to beat Jay-Z in a quarantine battle on Instagram, that just, and it's not young people I'm just criticizing too. I'm talking about people in their 40s and 50s who are debating this hard, who are like really debating, having a debate about this, like who are home. And then you're thinking, okay, why are you home? I understand distraction. I understand having an outlet. I understand being entertained. But also give some attention to where it counts too. And not only give attention, but possibly lend some action. Lend some action. Do something. Landlords want their 3%. But if you're not working to no fault of your own, how are you going to pay the 3%? Landlords don't care. And what relief measures are they really putting in place for you to not pay your rent? And then when the time, for a certain period of time, and then when that time comes up or it expires, you're going to be expected to pay what you owed, right? Or is that relieved? Is that foregone? Is that forgiven? What are they doing? And is it the same for the mortgage lenders? Is it the same for the mortgage lenders? I mean, mortgage holders and lenders, heck. Are they going to, you know, is everyone going to be relieved? Because it's a domino effect. We don't know. But what we do know, we want to know if DMX is going to beat Jay-Z. There's certain YouTube creators that have, you know, hem and hawed and complained about censorship and, you know, their content. Some of them are, you know, I guess what you call patriots. They give these terms, patriot, because their material or their content might not be favorable to the sentiments of American government. I dare to say they're anti-government, you know, the anarchists, et cetera, et cetera. And they've been talking about the censorship, the YouTube apocalypse. Remember YouTube apocalypse that started like 3 years ago, something like that? Well, YouTube hasn't changed. They've actually become more stringent in their policy and guidelines, and they just do whatever they do. They're a private entity. They can do whatever they want. But my point is, some of these content creators that have these right-wing or, alternative views, they're now complaining again. Complaining and essentially crying to their viewers, asking their viewers to support them on other channels, right? But they've been doing that the whole time. And then when their channels do, like for example, if someone's channels get demonetized, they'll get on YouTube and just tell their audience, listen, this is what YouTube is doing. They can't believe it. They're taking their channels down. They're demonetizing. I'm on this other application or medium now, and I'm, whether it's float.app, whether it's DLive, Library, BitChute, etc., Steam It, the list goes on. Go over there and you'll find my content. People, the problem is they still, because YouTube would, for example, whatever, let's say YouTube lifts their restriction through appeal process or whatever, and they have their channels back or their channels are monetized again, that narrative kind of, dies down. And throughout their content, they kind of make their viewers feel bad for their viewers not being as knowledgeable or as awoke like they are, right? Not being prepared as they are. But then when YouTube pulls the plug, like as recent as yesterday, there's been a number of YouTube personalities or content creators that have their channels demonetized and virtually, basically shut down. And they're now begging their audience, claiming that they're homeless, that this was their only means of income. But you were woke. You're dealing with a conglomerate. But now, and telling everybody to be anti-machine, right? Go against the machine. But now the machine is pulling the plug. Now you're crying to your audience who you've been actually criticizing too for being sheep. You want their help now. You want their help with donations, through donations, GoFundMe, Patreon. Join them on other social media platforms. Many of them are decentralized. But because they also know their subscribership is the largest on YouTube, they understand what it is. Many of them are, receive, when it's demonetized, that's an income that's severed, that's cut. But this is part of what I'm saying as far as which is it? Which way do we go? Which way do we go? What is it? Up, down, left, right? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're challenging the status quo, but then you're dealing with the status quo within the same framework of the status quo. One guy literally almost cried, begging. You could see his eyes tear up, asking for help from his viewers. The whole time he knew what YouTube was headed. He's been talking about them changing it, taking down his platform or whatever, and how he was connected with other medium streams. Instead of building his channels elsewhere, he continued to make videos on YouTube because his subscribership is the largest. And YouTube, there's no other platform as large as YouTube as far as creating content for content creators. That's why they were able to make an extreme living. Before YouTube apocalypse, people were living off of it real hard, and to some extent it's still going on. It's just different. The policies have changed. The guidelines have changed. Censorship, of course, it's messed up, but that's what it is. They're a private entity. They could do whatever they want. Sad to say, they could cut your voice. This is the nature of the beast. But these same people are the anarchists, or these guys that have these alternative views who go against the machine, are crying when the machine pulls their plug. Come on, man. Come on, man. What is this? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm trying to really understand and try to really make sense out of this is not, whatever we intake as far as information, whatever we process, whatever we consume, we become. If you want to just consume and ingest garbage, we become and live a life of trash. The same is true if you want to ingest and absorb useful, powerful information that will then reflect in your life, where your life exemplifies use and power. That's it. That's it. That's it. But mobilize, like do something. If you see something going, like just start to ask questions. Because we can't just sit by and just watch things unfold the way they're talking about. A 90-day extension as staying at home in California. 90-day extension. They talk about contact tracing, moving backwards to find where a person contracted the illness, which you have to give up information about yourself and your whereabouts, which creates a whole different set of problems with respect to privacy. Conversation and action has to take place. How do you feel if you were to be taken away from your home and sequestered for 14 days after being tested and discovering that a person and you know had 19? How would you feel if your child were to be removed from your home and left in the care of whomever, whatever, for 14 days or whatever amount of time? How would you feel? This is the talk. This is what's going on, people, and people are just taking it. I'm seeing it, I'm watching it every day in the Northeast, in New York City specifically. The granddaddy hotspot of all hotspots in this country. Like they spoon feed it and they trying to explain that this is science, this is about health, and they're talking with a calm tone, with just to hypnotize us, to just really embrace what's about to come. To be taken out of your homes and put up in a hotel as an adult, or taking a child out of their homes and put up under the care of I don't know what entity, Department of Health, Children's Services, I don't know. Houses of worship, who knows? While they have COVID, if you have COVID, you will be separated, isolated. That's the talk. Seems like against your will, against, it's like a mandatory thing. This is what they're saying without saying it. So this is where things are headed. How long do people have to wait to get a handout? Because business owners in truth, who have been leaders in their own right, independents in their own right, providing a service or a product to their customers, to their communities, and feeding their families. Do you think they are not crushed, emotionally fractured, and psychologically traumatized by having to reduce themselves to a point where they have to go ask for unemployment and get a handout from the government? Do you think business owners want to do that? Small business owners? Being forced to shut down their business. Have to feel like they're less than who they are, less than a man, less than a woman. Self-esteem shot. Why do you think certain social problems have arisen so high? Domestic violence, suicide rates have been effectively forced people to reduce themselves to next to nothing. I mean, business owners, even workers. And while they, put their pride aside and their humility aside because they have to eat, they have to take care of themselves, they have to take care of their families, these systems can't even have their act together to have these proverbial funds touch their bank accounts or hit their wallets digitally. But they could save banks, they could save corporations, they could save universities, they could save hedge funds and things of the like, airlines, before they could save you, the lifeblood that keeps all of these things running. Where's the perspective? Where's the common sense Forget about everything else. Where is the common sense in all of this? We are at a state of extreme failure. I don't want to hear about how great this country is right now, because this country is not doing great right now. My goodness. Like, it's just a thing of hypnosis to be told that this country is doing great. This is a great country. It's as great as the country is. Make no mistake. I love this country as far as what it has. I'm of this country. I'm born and raised. But this country is not in a great condition as of right now. Please, spare me the BS. Spare me the nonsense, man. And it's evident that it's not. The numbers reflect it. The reality reflects it. Your stomach that's rumbling and you can't satisfy that hunger, crave, and pain that you and your family are experiencing right now is indicative of that, of how great this country isn't right now. Come on, man, get it together. You think the Federal Reserve, you think these institutions really care about the people? My goodness. How many stimulus packages are they going to talk about? How many proposals are they going to talk about? Right? Now the latest one doesn't even have a system in place where you could get regular payments. It's another one-time $1,200 payments. Where this magical $1,200 number comes from, I don't know. Who created $1,200? What economic genius or financial genius thought $1,200 at one time, any given time, could take care of everyone's bills? What is that? But see, folks, people, you know, it's about watching. You want to know if DMX is going to beat Jay-Z in an Instagram battle. That's what you want to know. That's what you want to know. You want to know, you know, just things that got nothing to do with your day-to-day. When you're seeing figures, when you're being told that, you know, joblessness rate from the Department of Labor, although it's skewed, but you're going to hear tomorrow 36 point something million to date, jobless. But the shadow information comes out and it's 50 something million, because the information captured by the Department of Labor doesn't really include folks who are not working, who are not looking for work. And those figures have been in existence before they started capturing anything related to this crisis. Like, where's the mindset of the people? People really need, instead of talking about this woke, if you're going to be woke, make a movement, like mobilize, folks.